So we were talking a little bit, Monique, about the ascension of podcasting. We can all sit here and spend 15, 20 minutes talking about this issue of journalism, and we'll talk about 5 more issues in this great episode. And I can't misquote you here. You speak for yourself. People can see the look on your face when you say something. They can hear the context. When you say something to the press, you can say something like, this isn't really important, but certainly, X factor comes into play here. And they can take that, cut out, this really isn't the important point, and just take whatever you said and put that in the headline as the lead to the, as the headline or the link baiting or whatever. Is podcasting the future of all this, you think? And in subjects, you kind of alluded to this, that we're kind of routing around. Like, I don't go to the press anymore.
Yeah.
I am the press. I have 25 million listeners a year. I don't need to be on anybody else's podcast. I don't need to talk to any journalist ever. Why would I talk to a journalist? If I have something to say, I say it here. Audience comes to direct. You can't misinterpret me. Is this the future?
It's not just podcasting. It's Substack, having your own newsletter, controlling your own email list, and being able to control your voice and what you put out into the world.
Right.
So podcasting is certainly part of that, and definitely gives people who either didn't have a voice or felt that they were misrepresented in some way, a voice that they can control.
Right.
So I think, the rise of podcasts obviously started with like voice as a platform and having, these devices in our home, right? So that was like the first foray.
Yeah.
And then we started layering podcasting on top of that. And I think it will continue. I think people want to control the way that they are seen by the public.
Right.
And people want to be able to control what they put out into the public. And I highly recommend to founders, to anyone, in the industry, control your message. Don't let the media control the message for you.
Right.
Right. And do it either by writing regularly, podcasting regularly, or some piece of content that you are able to like get out there into the world.
Yeah, you got to develop that muscle as a founder, because you will get spun. I mean, look what's happening to Lambda School right now. I think that might be in the notes coming up, but they're getting savaged online. And luckily, the kid Austin who runs that, who's been on the pod, he's coming back on the pod to talk about it. And these journalists are never going to be able to talk to him. You know who's going to be able to talk to him? Me. Because I'm not going to try to do gotcha journalism with him. I'm not going to have him come on in the first 5 minutes, just grill him. I'm going to say, hey, tell me what's going on. How's the business? Tell me honestly. And that's why our podcast is bigger than any journalist podcast in tech. We're going to be just much bigger than the journalists, because we're going to get better guests because they feel more comfortable having a real conversation here. You listen to a lot of podcasts, Wade?
I've started to listen to more.
You getting into it?
Yeah, starting to get into it. Yeah. We started sponsoring stuff, and I'm like, all right, I got to understand the medium.
You have any you like? Yeah.
Well, Reply All is the place I started, because those guys do really good. It's like fun, quirky, interesting.
It's weird. Cool stuff.
Yeah. So
people like that one.
Yep.
I like to listen to the people who are the most polarizing on each side.
Oh yeah.
And I like to listen to them back to back. So sometimes on my drive home, I'll listen to Rachel Maddow and Ben Shapiro, and they'll talk about the same stories every day.
Yeah.
And one of them is talking about Bernie Sanders in one way, one the other. And then when they sync up is when it gets really interesting, because they might say it slightly differently, but they're both a bit worried about Bernie Sanders Ben Shapiro's like, Bernie Sanders can't beat Trump. He's going to just be like 40 people Trump's going to take 40 states. And Rachel Maddow saying the same thing. We better be careful what's going on here. We're not going to get Trump out with Bernie Sanders. They were in sync on that actual issue.